I am Clever.
I am Truth.
And we are Mother Nature.
Favorite thing about hip hop is the ability to be your full self. I think that's what brought me to hip hop in the first place, was the freedom to just express how I truly felt, what my real ideas were that I might not have been comfortable expressing with anybody else. And it just gave me a space to explore, like, who am I? Who do I want to be? Who am I trying to be? And it was no holds barred. Like, you can just be as expressive and clear cut and bold as you would like to be. And I think it gives the youth, the shorties, more than anything, again, that space just to be who they are. Because a lot of times in the academic world, we have a box around who they can be, and borders around how large they can express. So I think hip hop, the first thing that brought me in was just the ability just to be free.
I think my favorite thing about hip hop is the ability to shift energy. Whether you're like watching a DJ in a party and you're like a part of an environment where your favorite song comes on, or like they do a crazy mix and everybody in the room is like, oh, and everybody's just on a like vibration. I think that's the thing that I'm most attracted to, even now in the age that I am now. Just the power of hip hop to dictate a space or to change a space when needed, to help everyone vibrate higher. I think we see that with the spoken word too. Like the MC element of hip hop is the same way. Like we're really able to transmute energy through the words, through the mentality, through just being a guide. Like it's a guide for us to take off all our worries, to, you know what I'm saying, just be able to be present and connect with the people around us. So yeah, I think hip hop just, it's a frequency thing, and as soon as you press play, or as soon as an MC spits, or seeing somebody b-boy or b-girl, it brings you in. It brings you back to, I don't know, maybe like a root state, or like a childlike state of just enjoying the space and connecting with energy.
So speaking of like childlike state, do you remember some like formative experiences that like where you had that moment where like, wow, yeah, this is powerful?
Oh yeah. Well, it's like for me, my hip hop was just in my household. It was in the car, it was like everywhere. I was with my dad. Anywhere I was with my dad, there was hip hop. And my pops has always kept a very like high vibration. I have to give that up to hip hop. Like, he's always been a creator. He's always been in his space. Like, whether he's mixing records or playing around with house music or DJing or just rapping, that energy always kept the vibration high in the household. Man, early on, early 90s, my pops would just play everything. He would just expose me to Tribe and KRS-One and Chuck D and Rakim. Like, these were all things that were familiar to me as a kid. But then, because hip-hop is sampling everything, he's also playing me, James Brown. He's playing me everything from his past. And I think that it's life. It's life-giving music. It's just, it keeps the energy high. It keeps you excited. And I've watched my dad be able to kind of like, be able to just express himself in that type of way, and be able to, he raised a child through hip hop. And I think that's really, really dope. That's just one extension of like what hip hop can do. But yeah.
Any thoughts on that? Like growing up, what your first kind of moments with hip hop, or experiences where you thought like, oh, this is part of me?
I probably would say being in the car specifically with my mom, and she played me Outkast, like it was an Outkast record, like on a cassette tape, crazy enough, and it showed me, because I was already like writing, rhymes and things like that, but not really realizing what I was doing. It was just a way for me to just get off energy, express myself, that type of thing. And hearing that, it was just like, oh man, I do something like that. But they were doing theirs to a beat, to an instrumental. So it was just like it pushed me to start to explore. Let me see how this sounds over music. Let me see how this sounds over, in rhythm, like in cadence. So it just gave me the opportunity just to expound on what I was already doing. Man, hip hop really, like, it provides, or has provided, again, that space that I did not know existed at first. To be in your own head sometimes, your own space, thinking that, you're weird, you're different, you're X, Y, and Z. Hip hop was just like, we can be as weird and different and eccentric as we want to be, and it's cool. Like, the more you are of that, the better it is. So it really allowed me to just explore my own differences a little bit more, and continue to connect with different people that was kind of that same tribe. So man, like, hip hop just it brought me to myself.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, I guess that kind of relates to a question about students, of like, how have you seen hip hop bring other young people to themselves, and like, are there, hip hop is obviously powerful for you in that way, but why is it also powerful for young people to know?
Man, I think it's a formula, it's a structure to it, that you have to come as you are to hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're a shy person, whether you're outgoing, whatever it may be, and it gives you the environment to search for more, to be able to, okay, I'm into music, I'm into art, I'm into all these different things, and this kind of allows you to bring all of the different pieces of yourself into one space, and from there you begin to understand if the energy is cultivated correctly. You start to create a synergy, a cipher, that allows you to not only be reflective in yourself, but now you can be a reflection in other people that are within that cipher. So when you see somebody that kind of is more explorative in who they are, it kind of pushes you to do the same. Because the main thing that I know what we bring to hip hop in regards to the youth, in regards to our workshops and miseducation of hip hop, is the ability to understand that in order to make this work, in order to make this a real dope experience, we have to bring our full selves to the space, and we have to know that this is a fear-free zone. You know what I'm saying? There's no need to hold back. There's no need to, be in your head too much or anything like that, because this is a space of love, a space of peace, and just a space for you to really get to the depths of what do you want to be. Who do you want to be? And knowing that this is the grounds to explore that.
And like, if you don't have that trust in that energy being possible.
Yeah. It's definitely like ways you have to build up to be able to feel free to be yourself, So I think us being able to see that within our youth has been a transformative thing for us in regards to the healing power of hip hop. It's been a thing that we've seen over like a short amount of time, a long span of time that we work with kids. Just over time, they begin to just shed the layers that's like causing those blocks. It begins to just open up a bit more, and you can see who they truly are through us engaging in hip hop.
You have any thoughts on that?
Man, I'm like, pretty much what she said. She definitely summarized it. I say that hip hop gives us access to our most natural selves as well, and I think that like, you can make something out of nothing through hip hop. Whether it's you writing, whether it's you spitting, whether it's you
creating a business,
right? Or trying to heal yourself or somebody else. It's just like hip hop really allows you to just take the most raw natural elements and build and keep building and keep building. And I think that's super critical for youth to realize. Like, you don't have to go so far outside of yourself to be inspirational. You don't have to go so far outside of yourself to change and be impactful. And there's so many things in life that you have to work so hard for. And this is like our birthright. It's like God gave us this gift, and we all have the ability to make a beat. We are beats, you know, like it's the most natural thing to us. So I think that it's just hip hop gives us a really natural way to engage ourselves and to engage those around us.
Yeah. So you already kind of referenced the cypher and getting yourself out of the way, and kind of the peeling back the layers that get in the way of who we are at times, and especially with young people. And I know like a central part of your philosophy, both as musicians and as educators, is valuing the cypher. So can you talk about like not just hip hop, but specifically cypher is an important space in which to discover yourself, find yourself.
Yeah, man, we in a cypher right now. You know, man, a cypher is really just it's a space where the energy is infinite. We're all coming as our full selves. We all have knowledges that the next person may or may not have, you know what I'm saying? And we're able to exchange. And we do ciphers all the time, you know. It's like, yeah, there's hip-hop rap ciphers, but like you got dance ciphers, you got prayer circles, you got medicine circles, you got, you know, where you sit down with your family at, you know, dinner time and you chop it up that way. Huddles, team circles, you know, it's all types of different ways in which we can cultivate a greater energy between us just using what we have, which is our energy, our bodies, our minds, our words, our gifts. So, man, when it comes to a rap cipher, if you've ever been in one, of course you've been in one of this, but for anybody that, you know, has or hasn't been in one, like, a rap cipher is so dope because you get to just, one, be your full self, and you get to just watch the vibration change. Like, you get to watch the energy. And I think that's the coolest thing, because it's like, I could say something, but it sparks something inside of her, and then she get hype off of that, and then it sparks the whole crowd, and everybody's like, hey, hey. You get to see everybody in unison. And I think that that's not only hard to do in, you know, the type of society that we live in, it's hard to bring everybody together on one vibration where, like, we all agree. And we're all in this space in the same energy, and it's love, you know what I'm saying? We support each other. You putting your hand over somebody you don't even know, you know what I'm saying? Your words touching somebody you never met before. It's like a way to bring strangers together, and now we like best friends just in this space. So I think that is a powerful thing, especially for youth, is like, we're so used to everybody being on different vibrations and having different thoughts and opinions and not liking the person across from us, but like, the cypher teaches us how we can function and coexist together and grow together in just a small space and not needing anything outside of ourselves.
Right. And I would even add also, like, cypher is a space for conflict resolution as well. Being able to, like, especially within the classroom, being able to decipher, okay, you may have a problem with this person. This person may have a problem with you. And even if we're not in a rap cipher type of thing, it's that understanding of, like, these are two energies within this space that are colliding. So how do we come together with both people being able to be heard? You speak your piece, this person going to speak their piece, and we're going to come to a resolution. You know what I'm saying? So in regards to it being in a rap form, we, you know, somebody can say something in a cipher, like, oh, okay, and then somebody else come in, you know what I'm saying? And we can battle per se, but it's not a thing of, like, you know, we are physically harming each other or verbally abusing each other. That's your opinion. I have one that is counter to that, but we're gonna meet in the middle regardless. We still gonna rock, the energy is still gonna be, but everybody still being able to be heard. And I think that's the beauty of a cipher. Everybody got to have their piece. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, to elevate the energy, everybody has to know that I also have a space here. I also have a place here. I'm not neglected, and I'm respected for me speaking up and saying my 2 cents. So I think the cipher, man, it encourages you to be courageous. You know what I'm saying? It encourages you to, like, be intentional, make a statement. You know what I'm saying? And understanding wow, I'm not only the only one that feels like this. I might have said something that somebody else wanted to say, but they can nod and agree. Maybe they don't want to say nothing, but they can like, yeah, I agree with that. You know what I'm saying? So it's so dope to see how it's so many different ways a cipher can just elevate everybody, whether you in it all the way 100% or you kind of like on the outskirts of it, but you still have that. I feel connected to this.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Man, Muzz done left the ciphers before feeling like, man, I needed that.
Man,
whether they was
it's healing.
participated in it or not, whether they were just a bystander, it's like,
Yeah.
man, I needed that. Like, wow, that really, like, my day was, like, bad. And I got into this space, and y'all completely transformed the energy. And, that's, again, one of the most beautiful things about hip-hop is just the ability to transmute, change, and transform in an instant.
Yeah.
You know?
So you're saying something like that there's a place for everybody in a cipher, and especially or in a hip hop cipher, but a lot of older teachers, especially non-culture bearers, white folks, don't see themselves as having a space or as having a place in hip hop space, whether it's in a cipher or otherwise. So what would you say, or how would you encourage teachers to join that cipher in a way that's respectful but also participatory?
Right. I would think first off, it's a mentality thing. If you think you can't control the cipher, you don't have a space in the cipher. Like, you don't. You can't control it. Like, you have to let it organically be. I think in regards to initiating or like trying to create a cipher, you have to allow everyone to kind of just be and allow the natural flow to be. And once you see what the energy is, you just have to be a part. You can't really just like dictate this is what this is going to be. Like, I would say for a non-culture bearer in regards to creating a cipher, like, just pose a question. Like, it don't have to be in rap form, it don't have to be anything like that. But if we're specifically on hip hop, pose a question and play a beat. You know what I'm saying? Play a beat and allow questions to be answered within the cipher as you playing the music. You know what I'm saying? But there can't be any like regards to how somebody says their piece. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of times we have things in regards to the ways in which the youth express, and especially in this day and age, it's sometimes curse words happen, whatever, but it's a thing of like, if that's how they feel, it's a reason why they're expressing it in that manner. Because we can be critical of the cipher within, you feel me, but it's not a thing of like, you can't do that. It's a thing of like, let me challenge you on the way in which you said it or why you feel like that. But if we always coming at it in a way of like being restorative and being like in a sense of how can I know more as to why this kid feels like this or they're expressing like this, I think you can always have a space within the cipher, but you can't come in trying to like control it or like, I have to micromanage this.
Right. But like you said, like, it can also be a place where conflict, like restorative justice circles, like it can be a place where conflict is emerges, but also can be resolved.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Man, she really said all that I could say about it. I think that we have the same. I think it's even with youth, with kids. I think that there's sometimes kids who come to the cipher and they feel like they don't have a place in the cipher. Like, oh, I don't rap, so I don't know what to say, and it usually just comes down to like a nervousness and being shy. And I think that's super normal and natural for us as like humans to kind of like be that way with each other in today's times. And I think it's just a thing of like being yourself and releasing that fear. It's really a releasing the fear of you are authentic in who you are. You are authentic in the things that you've been through and the ways in which you've grown and the person that you are and the information that you carry. You just have to respect yourself in that type of way where it's like, man, I might not know it all, and again, I'm not here to control the space, but I'm here to give my piece. I'm here to get this energy off. I'm here to listen and learn. Like, if you come with the highest intentions
Right.
for just exchanging and growing and connecting and creating something new that didn't exist before, I think that those highest intentions are felt in the cypher, and I think that that's where you have a place. Like, if your intentions are high, and man, you guys see yourself on the same playing field as when we're in ciphers with kids. I'm a kid, or you're grown. Like, it's kind of that thing where it's like there's no ageism or any like none of the isms exist. You really have to throw them out the window and realize, like, man, we all are in a similar position to grow. This is the baseline. The baseline is love and respect, and yeah. It really forms itself after you relinquish the isms and the control. It really it grows in its own way, and you have to allow yourself to be transformed. I think that's the part. Like, it's a spiritual experience, and it can be scary. It's like, what's happening? I don't know.
What's coming out my mouth?
But once you like really free yourself from that, it gets easier, and you realize, like, wow, like, I am not in control. That was something that happened to us all. Yeah.
I think as teachers, and I felt this too when I'm facilitating something, like that can feel scary, because like first of all, school is a place where adults control children, where authority is very felt, and that is the default state. And so for teachers that are trying to get into this, they're still going to feel, and I still feel like, okay, I still need to keep these young people safe in this space.
Yeah, for sure.
And I also need to keep these young people from hurting each other if they're using language that's going to be hurtful to other people in the room or whatever it might be. And of course, I don't want anything that might get me in trouble. There is obviously that part of it as a teacher. And so, I'm not actually sure what my question is, but that's tough for teachers. So like, are there or thoughts you have initially about like keeping kids safe as the authority figure, while also enabling that space to feel free?
We make agreements. At the top of any workshop that we do. We make agreements with the kids. Like, all right, so, hey, we all got to be in this space together. I don't really know y'all. Y'all don't really know us like that. Some of y'all don't really know each other. But the thing is, when we're in this space together, we all have to enjoy the energy. We are not here to waste our time. We are not here to be mad. We're not here to be sad. So in order for us to all enjoy this space and enjoy this energy freely and be ourselves freely, what are some of your own rules in which you need to be respected? And we allow the students to like speak. Hey, well, I don't like when people talk about other people. All right, boom. Can we all agree on that?
Right.
All right, boom. Y'all see this? This is on the agreement board, and everyone has their opportunity to get it off. And we discuss it, because sometimes not everybody agrees, but we come to an agreement. And if we can come to an agreement as a cypher, it's really cool how it happens, because like, kids are ready to participate. Kids are ready to be in community. It's just that they don't always know how. And so once you allow that space, and the energy is relaxed, and we're cool, and we're all down here, we're all in a cypher together, it's like we come up with these agreements, and then we honor the agreements. You know what I'm saying? And then we leave room for restorative justice. That's one of the last
gets broken.
One of the last agreements is like, hey, you know what I'm saying? It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay if we mess up. How do we hold each other accountable when a cuss word slips out, or when somebody starts talking about somebody's mama or something, it gets disrespectful? How do we handle that? And we kind of come up with that within our cypher, because we all have that authority. Like, just because we're in school, of course we have to respect like the parent or the we have to respect the teacher and student relationship. As human beings, we all have the authority to create community with each other and say, hey, this is how I like to be respected, or when this happens, this turns me off and I shut down, or I'm ready to walk out. You know, so it's like being able to know the humans that you're in community with is the most important thing. It's like these aren't just students, like these are little humans that are like, you know. But yeah, I think that just making agreements and figuring out together how to honor those agreements, you can always come back to that when things get wild, and that's a better like guideline than just, oh no, you can't do that, or constantly reprimanding.
That's the authority.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You've created a culture within your small cipher. You've created your own culture, and that's going to be the thing that keeps everyone in alignment, is the culture.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that sort of thing?
Oh man, just understanding that it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't. You know, you have to have grace with everything. And for teachers, especially that are working with kids year round, you have a whole year. You know what I'm saying, to build that culture, to make them feel integrated and understand the power that they possess and being able to express it. So it's just understanding that regardless of, you know, the way in which it occurs, it's going to happen. If you have that intention, if we set an agreements, if we're doing all the right things in regards to creating the space that they know, okay, I know what they're, you know, what's the ceiling, you know what I'm saying, but also I know I have space to just be me. I think kids more often than not will meet you where you want them to meet you. You know what I'm saying? But you have to meet them where they are.
Yeah.
You know, to start off. So if we keep that mindset, it's always a space to be safe and free to express, as well as making sure we're not overstepping any boundaries, or, you know, being in a space that kids may not feel safe or things like that. But just making sure off top intentions, agreements, all of that will make sure that Cypher will create itself how it needs to be.
Yeah, no, I've had the experience. It's kind of similar to meditation. Like, you can intend to do it all you want, but some days it's not going to work, and that's part of the process.
Yeah.
And I've definitely had moments where I like it. I try to do a cipher, you know, on a Tuesday, and I'm not going to try to do it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
You know, I've lost faith in myself for a little bit at least, but the process of getting back.
And it's always, again, like the cipher, there's so many different types of ciphers we can have. We can have a silent cipher. We can have a silent cipher where we're just, all right, everyone, you know, without throwing up something you're not supposed to be throwing up, throw up a symbol of how you feel. Show a movement of how you feel right now. We're not using our mouths to express. We're using body language. So express that to the cipher in body language. How do you feel right now? And that's the part too, because not everybody is confident at the beginning stage to just speak on how they feel. You know, sometimes it's let's ad lib. Everybody just one word that expresses your energy right now. And I think that playing around with what we can do in circle with each other, it's play. It's play. It's one of the most natural things. Like when you're a kid, you end up in circle with kids, and you know you're not overthinking it. You're a kid. You're just like,
And sometimes
this
the
is what
goal
we do.
can be fun.
Yeah.
Right. It can be many ciphers within the cipher. You know what I'm saying? Maybe everybody isn't a vocal person. Maybe you do just I want to make sounds. I want to just beat on the floor. I want to hit things, like whatever it may be. So I think, just like you said, just looking at different variations of how the cipher can exist will allow for a teacher, especially somebody that's within or my mistake, with outside of the culture specifically, be able just to see, okay, I might not know too much about hip-hop specifically, but I do like the idea of a cipher, so let me see exactly how I can integrate this into my classroom. So just really doing your research and understanding, like, it's a multitude of ways to incorporate the cipher specifically.
And I wanted to add, just last thing I'm going to add on to that is, like, something that is often very effective for us is, before we try to, like, cipher students up, is, like, tapping into what their interests are musically. What do y'all listen to? What's your favorite song? Who's your favorite artist right now? And then that's also when you see kids like, oh, I love this. Because how often can you be in a classroom and you talk about Lil TJ? Or, you know what I'm saying? Somebody that you just like, I love this artist. This is what I listen to when I'm at home, but now I can bring this part of myself to class. Oh, that's dope. So just tapping into the kids, like, what y'all listen? That can be a cipher.
That's a cipher in
That's a
itself.
cipher right there.
It's a
All right,
cipher.
we all, talking about our favorite artists and why, or our favorite song and why, and without judgment, just allowing everybody to express themselves in that way. That's really cool, because then you see how diverse your classroom is. Some kids be listening to stuff I ain't like. What, you listen to that? That's dope. You both listen to that. That's cool. Y'all didn't even know.
Exactly.
And now you're creating connections just off of, again, you don't have to bring nothing outside of yourself.
Right.
I think bringing up like, students' favorite music type thing, I think a lot of teachers, their first wall is that they only know a certain part of hip hop, and they also like when they ask their students who their favorite hip hop artists are, they don't like what they hear when they go look it up.
Right.
So like, what do you say to teachers that's their experience of engaging with it? That's their only experience.
Right, man. Let's not judge. You know what I'm saying? Because it comes across in our workshops a lot where it's like, yo, this is what y'all listen to on the daily. Like, okay, but let's break that down. You know what I'm saying? We break it down and then we build it up. So if I know that you listen to a Lil Uzi or a Lil Yachty, whatever it may be, and we going over the lyrics of what this is, maybe you don't even, like, maybe you are really connected to this, or maybe that kid just loves the beat. Right. They might not even be listening to the lyrics. Lyrics might be crazy. You know what I'm saying? But it's like they just enjoy the beat. Like this, and the beat makes me feel this. I'm not even really listening to what they're saying. And then as we go over the lyrics and things like that, which could be another cipher activity, it could be a thing of like, man, I didn't even like, because we'll ask, do you agree with this? We'll read, like, this is what you're listening to. It's like, but do you agree with this? Half the time the kids be like, nah, I just like the beat. Like, I was rocking to it. It making me dance. It make me feel good.
That's how you get into, like, critical thought, too. Because you start, like, breaking down, like, okay, well, what does line mean? Like, what do it mean, y'all? Like, let's just have a conversation. And the kids would be like, well, it's saying like this, but like, I don't really agree with that. Like, you can't be. And then you start, now we just having real life conversation that got, inspired or planted. We just planted a seed by talking about this song or these lyrics. But now we're really engaging and, again, creating our culture with each other based off of like, man, I don't think this is right. Or like, nah, like, I don't get caught up in the language of that. What he means is this, and this is where we come from, and this is the things that we go through. So I think that it's a huge, not only a teaching moment, but a huge educational moment for the teacher to be able to tap into what their students are listening to. Go home and do your research. Whether you like it or not, it ain't about what we like and what we don't like. It's not about that. So it's being able to, in the same way when I studied English in college. In the same way I have to read text and read books that don't have any representation. I couldn't go to my teacher and just be like, I don't like this. I still had to break down why I didn't like it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the part where I think it just challenges us to go further and take it further, and to not, take things for their surface meaning. Like, you gotta dig in.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned like that a lot of times, even in hip hop that has difficult language or stuff that teachers might have a hard time with at first, that like there are stories being told. Like, those are people's real stories. I remember having that moment personally with Chief Keef, where my first reaction was like, oh, this is crazy, and I don't know how to take this in, or certainly not to connect with this. Until someone really pointed out, like, no, but this is him speaking his truth about his life. And so can you kind of speak to that as, like, I probably said too much of that at this point, but that like, can you speak to the fact that hip hop is a place to tell your story?
Yeah.
Man, not only your story, but you are a reflection of so many other people's stories. So I think that's key in regards to tapping into material that you might not be comfortable with. Like you say, the language might be harsh to you or anything like that. I've read books and stuff I had to read for school that were like, oh, this is what we're reading about, all these different types of subject matter, but it was somebody's story. You know what I'm saying? So I think once we start to allow ourselves to be transformed and look at things with a different lens, we're not really categorizing it again as a right or wrong. it's just merely this is my state, and from there it's like, okay, if this is something that you deem harsh, or this is the story that your kid connects to, they might be represented in it some way. So how can I reflect my classroom to make sure that when they come here in this space that they're not focused on this, that this is not, I'm coming from this harsh reality, I'm coming from these things that are kind of weighing on me. How can this be a space of relief? How can this be a space to release these things that I'm kind of like carrying and I'm like listening to and like reflecting on every day, because this is just it reflects me, so this is what I want to engage in. So I think it just gives teachers a time to be kind of critical of themselves in regards to how can my space be a safe haven for my students. I think some of my greatest teachers were that, knowing the demographic that they were teaching, knowing the stories, knowing the families, the background of like what their students are going through, and then making sure like we still want to learn and do what we are supposed to do, being within the classroom setting, but I'm not going to be just another weight on you, knowing what I know about your story and what you go through. So I think it's just a time for us to, man, really just self-reflect and just see how we can still be, like, we're teachers at the end of the day, so how can we be of assistance to our students? Because I think that information allows us to get a grander scheme of what the kids are really going through that they might not have a space to feel comfortable exploring to you in a classroom setting.
And that kind of brings up, like, especially in Chicago, but in a lot of cities, if you live in a segregated city, you might really have no connection to the lives of your students, or not really understand at all what their lives are like. If you live in another part of the city but come to their neighborhood, or if they come to your neighborhood, especially in Chicago, the north side is predominantly white, other parts of the city are predominantly people of color. So when when people are coming into each other's spaces, teachers a lot of times they don't know those stories, so they have a hard time hearing them.
Right.
In a way.
It's not about them though. You know, it's like, it's not about you. It's like, you came into this space. What did you come to do? Why are you here? And if you want to be an influence, or you feel like you have knowledge that the students need, then you have to know how to communicate with them. Like, communication, that's just key. So it's not about them. It's not about us when we go into a space. It's really not about us.
Okay, maybe this is more of a more kind of basic question, but like I mentioned, a lot of teachers studied classical music for 4 years before coming and teaching music in any sense. And we have a lot of knowledge about certain aspects of music. But for the most part, K-12 music teachers don't have that much knowledge about hip-hop.
Right.
So what knowledge do you think music teachers have to gain or explore to be able to teach hip-hop more effectively, or at all?
Man, because hip-hop is so crazy, because it's so rooted in culture that if you see yourself outside of that, it's going to be very difficult for you to really engage and especially teach it, or like use it as a tool. So I would say, like, first and foremost, you have to do your due diligence. You know what I'm saying? Not only just, Google, YouTube, and things of that nature, but you need to be in communication with folks that are rooted in the culture, that can truly guide you on, like, what does this mean? Because it's more than the music. You know what I'm saying? It's about peace. It's about love. It's about knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And the elements allow these things to be expressed. Community is so important in regards to hip hop. That's how all this, this was started. So if we are not engaging in the roots of what hip hop is, and you're just focused on the music and things like that, you only like you giving them like a sliver of what this whole thing is truly about. In regards to like our focus of being like the miseducation of hip hop, that's why that is so powerful, because it's rooted in the culture. The elements help to express it, and for the kids to be able to tap into themselves. Okay, what a part of what aspect of hip hop do I lie? You know what I'm saying? Where do I fit? But most importantly, the kids gravitate to the idea of, man, this is expression, this is freedom. All of my worries and my traumas that I'm going through have a space to be explored and dissected and really eradicated. You know what I'm saying? Given this culture that I know I now am a part of. So if we are going to teach hip hop, we have to make sure that we are engaging with folks that's already doing it. Cause you just gonna be misleading a group of students. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you, not only is that unfair to them, but it's like you are not being able to really truly know where you fit at in hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
You're trying to teach, but you're not willing to be taught in that type of way.
You know?
And you know what I was about to say. I think that like once you get to that point and you are actively engaging with the culture, I think that there's so many ways to bridge classical music and hip hop. Yeah. I mean, nothing new under the sun. Mm-hmm. Everything comes down to beats and bars, mm-hmm. vibration, octaves, and things like that. Like, I think there's so many ways in which a teacher who had 4 years of classical music or whatever, like, that they'd be able to come into a space and connect hip-hop to classical music, connect hip-hop to jazz, connect hip-hop to blues and rock. Like, that's the cool thing about black music in general, is like it's a world. So I think that you have to be, one, understand that it's a world, and then be willing to like step in it and explore it for yourself. Like, man, I really feel like you have to be willing to be transformed. Man. Like, it comes back to that.
You got to be self-reflective. And like, because again, I think you touched on a real one in regards to hip hop is based in a black culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, inner city. So you have to, like, do you have any biases against black and brown folks? You know what I'm saying? Like, because exactly. that can you know, kind of obscure how you look at the hip hop culture. You know what I'm saying? Thinking or deeming something to be negative through your lens, when in actuality you just might have a bias or a prejudice that you have not, you know, uncovered yet. So I think, again, like, you really have to dig within yourself to, like, let me make sure I'm good, then let me tap into the culture, and now, you know, now that I'm engaging in it enough, making sure now I'm clear enough to feel open enough to now I can bring this to a classroom of students that may be black and brown. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're not authentic, the kids are going to understand it. Then that's going to shut the cipher down right there. If they know that you are if they know that you are not coming and being your fullest self, because all the things that we want that we want from the kids, we have to be first the ones to express it. We the first ones hopping the cipher, spit something, hitting our feet, throwing up hand, whatever it may be that we want the kids to do. So we have to be free. We have to be expressive. We have to be that example of, yes, we gonna be silly, we gonna be goofy, we gonna spread knowledge.
Sometimes we mess up.
All that, and for us to be that, it gives them the freedom to be like, okay, that's cool, they all right, I rock with them. You know, let your guard down so then they can let theirs down. You know,
something that Tangi was talking about a couple days ago was her favorite thing about hip hop is that it's simultaneously exclusive and inclusive. That, like, it is rooted in black culture and black voices, but it also is a space for all voices.
Yes.
And that's something that I've always seen when I'm in hip-hop contexts, that, like, I'm not just an outsider if I participate.
Right, exactly. Yep.
And it's so worldly too. Like, I think that's a part of once we started like traveling more and even like tapping into the element of b-boy and b-girl. Like, you go to you know, some dance spaces, and you realize, like, man, this is even more diverse than would it be in the rap circles, you know? And I think that once you just start to open up to all the elements, again, not just rap music, not just like, cause I see how that can just give you one idea of the world of hip hop, but it's like the world of hip hop is vast. It's a world. Like, there are people in other countries that don't look like us that are engaging in this and getting a life. Like, and I think that once you know, people who are outside of the culture, you know, teachers and educators, I think once you start just really tapping into how vast hip hop is, how worldwide it is, how young and old, and pop out to some spaces, go to some events, like, you know, like you have to. I think that from there you can even expose your children to things that they don't even know, you know, like a lot of our kids, you know, they don't really know of all the careers and all the things that exist, or how a music video, the thing that you always watch on YouTube, how many people contributed to that, you know what I'm saying? Or when you watch a concert, you go to a show or something, how many components went into you being able to see this. And they're like, oh, you just take a step back, like, oh wow, this is really big, this is vast, this is not just one dimensional as I thought it was. So I think, yeah, just tapping into the world would allow, you know, people who are outside of the culture to get inside the culture and allow themselves to be transformed.
Yeah, they're like participating in hip hop can even be setting up the stage for a performance.
Exactly.
It can
taking video or something.
Exactly.
That, like,
writing about it,
right,
anything.
Right.
Photography, like so many different ways that you can get access to this, if you know, if you are there to, if you know what hip hop is about, if you know it's about peace, love, knowledge exchange, and harmony, creating harmony with each other, then like if that's what you connected to, then you got a place in it for sure.
So I feel like going back to the elements and hip hop outside of music, because that is a really important part. The reality is, like, students' voices, quote unquote, look like very different things. Like, they can look like making beats or dancing or
being fly.
Yeah. Or
I'm so fly.
doing graffiti or visual art. Yeah. What? Yeah. Fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you talk about like that expansiveness a little bit more, and you know, the fact that it's an art culture, not a music genre.
Right.
Man, just understanding the basis of hip hop is like turning something into, or it's turning nothing into something. I think that's how we are able to like broadly show kids how diverse and vast hip hop can be. Because we'll have kids that like, man, I like to cook. I make meals and I sell plates. You know what I'm saying? That's hip hop. Like, because you using your little ingredients, making something out of nothing, and then you turn into a business. So now you put the entrepreneurial aspect to it as well. It's like, yo, anything that you like are passionate about, and it's not a clear cut direct path in regards to how to do it. Hip hop was that. It showed you like, man, how can we make a party if we ain't got no space? Right. We ain't got, you know what I'm saying? How can we make a party if we gonna use these speakers? We gonna plug these, you know what I'm saying? So it's one of them things of like understanding, using your ingenuity, understanding your ability to create something that wasn't there at first. The space, the energy. If you have that ability and that understanding, anything can be hip hop. Anything. We sometimes we show our kids. It's this guy that we use in our curriculum. Hip hop forestry. You know what I'm saying? Exploring nature within hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a vast and ever expanding lane when it comes to hip hop, because every day it's something new, especially with technology now. Yeah. That makes it even that much more expansive. So I just see it as anything that you are wanting to do that is not a clear-cut path and you have to create it yourself. You're using hip-hop, you know what I'm saying? You're using a hip-hop type of technique to make something appear that wasn't once there.
You kind of referenced like the fact that you're sampling from things in order to create something else, like in the food example. And sampling, I think, one thing teachers do learn about pretty quickly is that musical sampling. Yeah. They're like, or they've already experienced this. Of like, oh, that Kanye track uses that Daft Punk track or
Right.
that whatever it might be. And so, can you talk about like how sampling is such a part of hip hop and in all its different forms?
Yeah. Connecting to the question myself.
Yeah, that's a deep one. I feel like even us being able to do hip hop workshops, we sample that from our mentor, sister, homegirl, Dr. Ruth Nicole Brown. She showed us within our own individual music just how powerful it was, and we've been in classrooms in cyphers with her and seen how she maneuvers with younger kids, college age kids, through a hip hop lens. And she's a whole college professor, and she gave us the insight with what we seen with her. Man, okay, so she runs her workshops in this type of manner. We can what do we know? What do we bring? Well, we've come to understand ourselves through hip hop. So it's like even sampling from the music that we're listening to. Like, man, I'm reflective in this. This allows me to, man, I am this type of person, and I see this within this MC that I listen to a lot. Let me tap into what this is. Let me now bring this and sample this and bring this into the classroom, bring this into a workshop. It shows you just, I think hip hop is just this smorgasbord. It gives you a little bit of everything, but it brings it to a space that it's its own. So it's like my mama can be hip hop, my grandma can be hip hop. You know what I'm saying? White folks, anybody can be hip hop if you are bringing what you already know and putting it into the space of how can I grow this? How can this connect? How can this be a point of exchange? And just allowing yourself to understand that all of this is still based upon principles that the world essentially should be on. We should be vibrating at a peace and love frequency. You know what I'm saying? And at its highest, that is what hip hop is, and it comes from a space of, I have a little bit of this, I have a little bit of that, and how do I bring this together to make a full course? You know,
something right? How do I take something that was something and make it more fresh? I think that's the thing that we all love about hip hop is like, I ain't never seen that before. That's dope. That you did that. I see. Wow. How did those? It's kind of like magic. Like, and we do it with our lives. I think that like I'm sampling things all the time. Like, man, I went through this really, really strange, terrible experience, and I have to make something of it. I have to make something new, and I gotta make this fresh. I gotta polish this up. Like. And before you know it, now you have this you've produced something, you've created a product, and I don't know, it's like earthwork almost, it's literally you have the clay and you made something else from it, and then you can destroy that and make something else from it, and destroy that and make something else from it, but it's the energy and the time and the information that you put into it that somebody else can take that and run with it as well. So, man, we are creators by design, by our truest nature, and I think that hip hop allows that to be a very infinite thing. Yeah. I don't know if that answered the question.
So every hip hop is so connected to its context that like every rapper, not every, but most rappers are also a representation and speak to where they grew up. And as educators, we think a lot and talk a lot about our school context, who's in our space, what neighborhood or community or city we're in. All of that matters a lot. And so this is something that I personally struggle with, is like, how can my classroom be a community, and how can we like almost rep our classroom but still have that feel not just like school, but like a place that creating connect.
Yeah, I think it comes back to like creating culture within your classroom, and literally saying that like we're creating a culture, and allowing students to imagine a space that they want to be in. I think that we're always creating worlds. I mean, that's kind of like just the wave we've been on, and that's how we talk to our kids. Like, man, what kind of world? So you come from this. What type of world do you want to live in? What type of world do you want to create? No boundaries. What type of world do you want to create? And I think that if we're having those conversations, and that's the dialogue that's being exchanged in a space, then it's naturally gonna become that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel similarly. It's definitely a need to be very imaginative in regards to what we can create, because I think living life, you know what I'm saying, we are bound to what we see, especially kids. Like, you don't have too much say in your household. It just is what it is, however your parents dictate it. So when we come into a classroom space, it is okay, maybe these aspects of your household you would like to change, but you don't have that authority. Here you do, you know what I'm saying? Or we can create something that you feel is like, yeah, this is in alignment with what I would like to do as well. So from there, if we can always know where our kids are in regards to how they deem a space to be safe and free, I think if we focused on cultivating that, and it's like I said, it can be a challenge, it can be a process, but if that is the intention that we're setting out to, and at top of the day we're checking in, making sure we know where everybody's headspace is, then the student and the teacher knows, like, man, I might be down today, I might be up today, and we can appropriately know how to just handle a kid, you know what I'm saying? So if we are having activities they might not want to be engaged on this, they have the freedom to, like, sit out on this, like, we give you grace on today, but tomorrow, let's make sure our energy is more in alignment with what we said we wanted to stay in tune with. So from there, if we are coming with that type of viewpoint, I think it will allow for things to just run so much smoother. The teacher is going to be happy, the students are going to be happy, and the culture is being built at the same time.
You can't get so attached to, like, the outcome of what you want it to be. You just have to really, like, again, come back to your intentions every day. Come back to, okay, this is the intention. What can I do with the energy today so everyone in here feels like we're a team. We are a collective. This is something that they can, like, hold on to and take with them, and that they can rely on. I think that if that's the focus all the time, like, not being so attached to the outcome, you're going to naturally get the outcome of, however you want your space to be represented, like, in the same way that people can represent, where they come from, like, it's going to naturally create itself.
You kind of mentioned that, like, kids have tough days, obviously, and some days the idea of expressing themselves does not sound good,
Right.
and that's okay too. So can
like
you talk
that.
about hip hop, like, as a healing space? Maybe it's consciousness building, but as, like, a healing space for young people or for yourselves.
Man, I know sometimes we'll come in and we'll just be, having dialogue with students, especially, like, first days we're working with a new group of students and things like that. We're asking all the questions. We're throwing out all the prompts. We're trying to see where they are emotionally. We're trying to see where they are in regards to the things that they like, dislike, anything like that. But I think every day, for teachers that are working with kids consistently, we need to have check-ins. First and foremost, we need to know where you at. It can be a one-word statement. It can be, a full conversation. But we have to, like, carve out time to know where our students at. Because if you just coming in on this is the agenda for the day without checking in, you might want to run into a wall. Like, man, what's going on with everybody? And you don't even know, like, X, Y, and Z happened with a group of kids, or some things that occurred that they still are, like, harboring on. So if we make sure that we are intentional with where we are with the kids, I think that in itself is hip hop because hip hop is you expressing. You know what I'm saying? It's you giving your fullest self, and if there's a block there, we need to know why.
Yeah.
So just focusing on that healing aspect. It could be a meditation. You know what I'm saying? Maybe kids don't want to talk that much. Maybe they just need a time to just like decompress. You know what I'm saying? Any matter of ways. Because again, it's making sure you know the ways in which your students are most interactive in expressing themselves. So if we can make sure off top that we are allowing them to be more open with how they are before we engage into any type of curriculum, I think that's going to allow us to just have a smoother time in engaging in what they actually want to be doing in that day.
And the most healing and the most learning as humans, it comes from creating. So a lot of times, like, the dialogue will be there, but there's sometimes we'll realize, like, we just need to create. We just need to let them record. And the elements of hip hop give it to you. Hey, anybody that want to draw, graffiti, do some art, y'all can be over here. Anybody that want to MC and get these bars off and write or do poetry and comedy and storytelling, we can do that over here. Oh, y'all into the visual arts, the photography, the video. Like, if you set it up that way, oh, y'all want to dance? Everybody's going to find a place where, all right, I might not want to talk about what I'm going through, but in me creating something and connecting it to what I'm going through, especially, like, then you are allowing the students to have their own experience with God. And I don't really, want to bring God into it, but that's what it is. Like, you're allowing a student to have their own conversation with themselves through creating, using the elements of hip hop. And you could be hands off. You don't even really have to do much. And then you can allow each other to share. But I think that there's so much power in just creating. No matter what you're creating, small or big, like, tap into what the students want to create, what y'all want to create today. We're not going, that's where the learning happens. Allowing the student to teach themselves sometimes is more impactful and more effective than us trying to give them a knowledge that they might not be ready to receive, or they just gonna go in one ear and out the other on that particular day. Like, you got to be flexible. And I think allowing just the creative process to do the work is one of the most amazing things about hip hop. 'Cause you could be drawn about it, or you could be dancing that energy off, or maybe it ain't for you to figure it out in that day. Maybe it's just for you to feel and process and get through. You just need to get through and get to the next day. Being in the moment with it and allowing kids to create, I think, does a lot of the healing and teaching for us.
It lets you show. It brings you to a space of, now I can meet this kid where they are. Because it's still going to be a process regardless. In regards to, this might be something they want to speak about. It might just be one thing that just ticked them off that day, or it might be something that's more internalized, that's going to be expressed throughout the remainder of the time that you have with that kid. But for you to give them that space to just get off whatever it is that they feel right then and there, you're gonna see it be more. They'll be more comfortable with maybe engaging in it more, and if it's a different type of cipher that's going on. So maybe this time they want to draw about it, dance about it. This time they might feel brave enough to speak about it. And then again, now that creates a different type of energy within the cipher. Other people might begin to feel the need to express themselves a bit more deeply. So just understanding the healing process in regards to hip hop, I think, is very, very crucial, because those are part of the stories. Like, that's the main ground where we build these stories from.
And affirmations too. I think that in creating the culture in your classroom, reinforcing your intentions, reinforcing the affirmations, reinforcing whatever culture it is we're creating, I think that will remind kids and just bring them back to, like, okay, this is why we're here. This is why we're here. Because it be them times, it be them kids. They don't want to say nothing. They don't want to do nothing. They don't know what they need.
Right.
Or maybe they do. They just don't know how to express it. They don't think you can give them what it is that they need. Yeah. And you just really have to navigate that space really gently, and using the tool of hip hop, like, you have infinite possibilities. You know, they might just need to listen to some music. They just might need to put on some beats, put on some smooth beats, and we just vibing, y'all. We just gonna chill today, and create a circle, pose a question. You know, have a small activity. There's all types of ways that we can engage with hip hop that will just naturally open us up.
Yeah. Sometimes healing looks like engaging with serious things that are happening in the world, and hip hop has always been a space that's grounded in activism and social justice and organizing, and still is, of course. And so, can you talk about hip hop's relationship to activism and organizing, and also why that might be important for young people, or that might be part of their space to heal.
Man, a voice for the voiceless, for sure. Being a like, and again, as educators, let's not forget that we were once kids as well. You know what I'm saying? And not being able to vocalize and not feeling that we had the space to really express our ideas, how we were feeling, and those types of things. So when we think about hip hop in regards to activism, in regards to just social issues in general, it's always been a protest genre. You know what I'm saying? It's always been a culture of man, we've been neglected. You know what I'm saying? We are living in these type of conditions, but we're still thriving. We're still loving. We're still fighting. We're still going through what we're going through, and we also are solution based in what we're doing. So not only is hip hop like this bullhorn that allows these things to be expressed, it also gives way to, okay, you're doing this work, and you don't have to look a certain way in order to make change. You don't have to have a certain background in order to really be a voice for your community in a bigger sense. So if we are looking at it in that type of way, we have to understand the power that hip hop has. We have to know that this is, again, more than music. This is more than just creativity. The roots of the culture, again, knowing where all of this stems from, is understanding that it's necessary to have a space that allows you the freedom to be who you are. Black and brown folks, how all this started, we didn't have that. We needed a space that allowed us to culturally be who we are without reprimand, without judgment. So in the sense of a classroom and kids being reprimanded all the time, always this authority figure over them telling them what to do, you have to give the kids that same freedom. We can't have hip hop in the classroom. We have to go full force or not at all. So in that type of sense, it's necessary to know that if we are going to engage in it, you have to be not only the teacher but the student. You have to, like, it might be issues that you don't have as a teacher of a space, but if you are giving the kids the space to express in regards to what their isms may be, you know what I'm saying? Because kids nowadays are going through way, like, they have access to a lot more things, and they're going through a lot of other things that, and back when we was growing up, we might not have that same those same issues, but this is a space for them to be able to explore how am I feeling during this? Why am I feeling like this? Because sometimes we have kids that are just don't want to participate, angry, anything like that, and they don't know why. So if we are giving them every tool in the toolbox to make sure that they are like, man, okay, are you in need of just feeling included? Because sometimes it be the students that are feeling excluded from everything else that don't want to participate in the cipher. So how can we make sure that we are finding out what exactly they are missing, and how can we add that to the piece of the cipher? That's just again, it's a process that we have to go through to figure out what they may be. But in all, it's just the understanding that it's a necessity to continue to allow a community to be held in the sense of it being open enough to just express. Like it's freedom at the end of the day. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but that's what I keep coming down to, where it's just a necessity. It's just a necessity.
Yeah. I think hip hop it's raw, it's fearless, it's loud, it moves us. I think that's the main thing. It moves us. And I think that we've been able to be revolutionary in our own ways through hip hop music. Obviously, like through the education, through doing the miseducation. But there have been times where we've been able to use hip hop as a response to our pain, and as a response to when we were at U of I, and I believe it was 2016, after the Mike Brown case, and where we were at in Champaign, and in a lot of spaces there was this tension and this conflict between the black community and the police, and then people picking sides, and so hip hop for us was used like, all right, what can we do? What do we have the power? We know we need to do something. We so angry, we need to do something. What can we do? And we know it can't just be us. All right, let's hold a protest cipher. And what we discovered was, like, we created impact. We created using nothing. We had a table and some speakers and some handbills that we passed out. We invited our community. We invited our students. We invited our elders and our teachers, and we created a space, and we created a movement just within that energy alone. So it's like, again, we using this energy, we using this pain, and we are allowing hip-hop to do what it does. And we created a space where everyone was able to express themselves, where they were able to be loud, able to get that pain off and display it and connect with other people. And not only did it move us into a new space, but it moved those around us into a new space. So I remember the question being something just like, just to speak on, hip hop as a revolutionary force, or hip hop as a means of rebellion sometimes, but it moves us. Hip hop moves us. It moves others. It teaches us. It's man, it's a force. It's a force. When we all bring our fullest selves to it, it can literally become a machine that can make change. And I think that it 100% has. I mean, hip hop is probably one of the most influential genre. If we just want to use it as a genre, it's one of the most influential genres. It literally, everyone who has a marketing campaign for their business or is using hip hop as a means of communicating with their audience, and trying to bring more people into support of what they're doing. So that right there, like, us understanding the power of hip hop and the kind of almost the God-given authority that we have when we use hip hop to make change and to impact and move people, it's magic sometimes, for real.
That's one of my favorite things about engaging with hip hop as a teacher, is I can engage with what happened last week through music very easily, because there's music about it, about whatever happened immediately. And not just in Chicago, not just in New York, but across the world.
Yeah.
In Palestine.
Yeah.
Wherever it is. It's
the human experience. It's like hip hop, we all be having these human experiences, and hip hop is sometimes the most bravest way of expressing, hey, this is what I've been through, whether you from Chicago or you from Palestine. You know what I'm saying? There's gonna be hip hop music that touches on pain, and we can all relate to that pain. It's like the human experience, it's pain and it's joy. And I think that hip hop is just not afraid to speak on the highs and the lows, and to tell you what it is or what it ain't. And we just gotta respect and give reverence to that, like, for being that brave and being that courageous to, like, to tap into that pain, into that human experience with the intention of growing and helping someone else who might be contemplating suicide. You know what I'm saying? But to be able to use hip hop as a means of, like, hey, I've been there. I know how you feel. Let me give you the details of my life so that you understand that we are in the same space, and let me drop this gem on you. Like, you might not, nobody might be letting you know that, like, what you need to hear, but let me give you that because I've been there, and it's how I transform that energy. And so let me just give that to you, and before you changing lives, saving lives every day. Like, I feel like hip hop be really talking people off the ledge.
Here's these 10 other artists from history that felt the same way.
Yeah. And I think that's why we have such a connection to Tupac. Like, Tupac is the hip hop Jesus almost. It's like, yo, like, if you are angry, if you are disrupted, if you are, you know what I'm saying, going through whatever you're going through, you could tap into a Tupac interview. You ain't even gotta listen to the music. You can tap into an interview and be like, yo, like, how can
feeling like this?
how can so much love and anger coexist in a person? You know what I'm saying? And like, he's really good at articulating exactly what it is that he feels and what he sees, and the political nature of what we are going through as humans. But if you were just to look at him on the surface, you would be like, oh, thug life, or you would have just this misconception of what his music represents. But you got to tap into the mentality. You got to tap into the why, and where these words come from, and where this energy comes from. And once you tap into it, you like, oh yeah, I agree.
No,
yeah, 100%. I too.
I too.
So again, it's like, our students, there's nothing new under the sun, and we have a responsibility of bringing this revolutionary music to our students who are like, they might be listening to music that that does talk about guns a lot, or that does talk about violence and things like that. But it's our job to take them through the timeline of hip hop, and through the timeline, like, hip hop is Black history. Hip hop is white history. Hip hop is American history. And when we start looking at it in that context and not judging it, you're looking at, like, oh wow, this is the real. This is the roots. This is not what we're getting in our textbooks. This is not what you see on TV. This is real media. And I think that that's the part that people might get frightened by. But this is real media. This is like, there's no illusion here. You have to step outside of your illusion to be able to connect with this. And that's where the revolution is, for real.
And from the people whose stories don't get told.
Exactly. Hip hop has to be synonymous with honesty, for sure. Like you said, like, what we have been taught and what we have been given, half the story, a portion of the story. Hip hop gives you the full scope.
Yep.
This is the kid on the block. This is the mother raising 2 kids by herself. This is the government taking this away from me. Like, all of these things. Like, this is the context in which I live, and now I'm expressing to you my viewpoint on it all. How I'm trying to get out of it, how the struggle is, and what I look for towards the future. And I think that's the beauty of hip hop too, is that it's always like a light at the end of the tunnel. We're always searching and working towards getting to this space of complete, just not a non-attachment to this reality that we are in right now. Hip hop helped me to explore my own imagination and understanding, like, man, I could be a artist. I could really be true to myself. I could explore these things about myself, and people connect to it. So it gives you a whole new reality to live in. Like she said, it's creating a world. Like, you can create your own world in hip hop, and be fruitful in it, and be able to take care of your family and yourself. So it all starts with you being true and intentional on who you are, where you're trying to go, and what you're trying to do with the music that you're creating, or the art that you're creating.
I think that honesty, what you said, hip hop being synonymous with honesty, I think that's something that teachers have to really, really understand. So like, when in a classroom, when we're coming and you have to be authentic, that means you have to be honest. Like, you got to be honest with yourself. I think that you can't be living in your own illusions about yourself.
Yeah.
You can't be
Hip hop shake you out of them illusions quick. It'll
will
put a microscope on yourself and just like, oh, I wasn't tapped in as much as I thought I was. Like, it forces you out of your comfortability. Like, you know what I'm saying? So,
but that's where real change begins and happens.
That's the only way we're gonna grow.
We're not here to be comfortable,
No.
and we're always being told what to do and how to think. And I think you just have to be ready to be honest, and that be the highest intention.
I wanna respect your time, so I'm gonna make this kind of my last question. But circling back to that historical perspective, can you talk about what hip hop history can bring to a 16-year-old today?
That's a good question.
Talked about Tupac being a guiding light for you.
I think it goes back to the fact that it isn't anything new under the sun. There's been a multitude of people before us that have gone through the same feelings, going through the same struggles, and had a way to, or were looking for a way, found a way to alleviate themselves, to create something better, to build. So I think it gives, the context gives a student a hopeful mentality. I think it gives them optimism to know that, man, this person went through that, but they came out of it. You know what I'm saying? And they went back and tried to bring more community out of it and build greater structure to allow for it to be a little bit easier for me in my state. So I think, even though we go through our own things, life is just going to life, you know what I'm saying? If we know the history of, like, this is, because beyond, like, even when we think just in the political sense, in regards to the history, the same struggles that we're going through today and things that we're trying to overcome have been here years before we were here. So to know that this work has still been done, and now it's my time on the wheel to get things moving. It gives me it gives me things to go back to be like, man, what has been done already? You know what I'm saying? Now what was missing? You know what I'm saying? How can I add to what has already been done to create something that, again, doesn't exist? Because in the sense of hip hop, it's creating what isn't here, but using what we know already. So I think the more that we go back in history, we can find more tools to use in our present moment to build for the future.
And I think that it's cool. Like, you can have your own hip hop family tree. Like, you could be like, oh, this is what raised me. This is what grew me. Or this is what grew this artist. Like, this is how we have a Young Thug. Like, we wouldn't have a Young Thug if we didn't have a Lil Wayne. We wouldn't have a Lil Wayne if we didn't have, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it goes back like that. And I think that I don't think that all kids are always interested in old school hip hop. They're not always super interested in the history that we bring. That's a part of our workshop where we do history and visions. But I think that it's a part of them knowing themselves as well. And I think that when we put it in that context, it becomes a little more interesting.
The stories are definitely necessary.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Yeah, like this is what created the music that you listen to. This is what has created the society that we live in. Like, the fact that there was a time where the consumerism of hip-hop wasn't the same as it is now,
Right.
where hip-hop wasn't so capitalist, where hip-hop didn't just talk about, money and drugs and the things that we're, like, miseducated on now. So I think that, like, when we connect to the source of what hip-hop is, its function, and the world that we live in as a result of hip-hop, I think that it's more interesting going down that journey with kids who are like 14, 13, and really if their parents didn't connect them to the hip-hop of the 90s or of the late 80s, then they're really, like, disconnected from it completely. There's times we have this one exercise that we do at the top of our classes where it's like it's kind of like a jukebox feel, and we put these emotions around the room, and then we play music. Some stuff they know, some stuff they don't know. Some stuff is like within the genre of hip hop. Some stuff might be a sample of something that you hear. But like it's always cool gauging like y'all don't know who Lauryn Hill is. Wow, y'all have never heard. Some kids might not know Michael Jackson now. It's kind of wild. It is really kind of wild. But when we do that exercise, we challenge them to move to the space where they feel the emotion. So they'll be grooving. They'll be like, and we'll be like, okay, do you like this? Why does this make you feel excitement? Or why does this make you feel confused? Why does this make you feel? We're connecting them to the emotions that the music is making them feel, whether they know the artist or not. And that'd be a history lesson in itself. Just a small like, okay, what about this music makes you, man, like there's no bass in this song, so that's why I'm not really like, I don't know who this is, and it confuses me because there's no bass. And that just like lets us know like where these are opportunities for teaching. These are opportunities to, explore the artist, the sounds that they're so familiar. Did you know that this was a sample that used in this song, and then we'll play this song, and it's like, oh, okay. I just think it's allowing them to learn more about themselves. The more that they know, the more that they can carry in their hip hop book bag, the more that they're able to connect with the world around them and connect with others around them. So I think it's super important. I think that's literally, we're getting to a point where we have hip hop history. Hip hop's what, 40, almost 50 years old. Now we can start bringing that into the classroom. Now you're starting to see hip hop being taught in college classrooms and things like that. So I think that it's almost a new frontier of hip hop history being really, really important and something that we need to bring into the classroom to teach American. Like hip hop history again is American history. So if we're gonna teach anything else, you have to include hip hop in it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. We appreciate this conversation. Got us fired up.
I don't